What's poppin', everybody? Cerebral94. So I was on the TCG Amino yesterday for a bit, where a person posted an English image of the Lost Thunder set that's going to be released in November, pretty soon actually. And people talked about the set, the images revealed, and the length of the set mainly. 210 cards, the biggest set actually of any Pokemon set ever. I don't think there's been any Pokemon set that's bigger than that. And it got me thinking about this, and something that I've been thinking for a while, noticing how sets are becoming bigger, a lot more cards, like a lot more. It's more common for sets to have 160 cards, 180 cards inside them, which is normally like reserved. These are supposed to be like the exceptional big sets. You look at sets like Supreme Victors, you look at sets like Legends Awakened, you look at sets like the Expedition, the Skyridge, those kinds of sets, supposed to be the exceptional sets. Most sets, the normal is supposed to be like 100, 120 maybe. But we've been getting more and more big sets like that. Like if you look at all the Sun and Moon sets, really all of them are like 160. Forbidden Light is 150, 146, which is big as well. And the smallest one is Crimson Invasion with 144, which is actually this wouldn't be like the normal size back then. And it got me thinking about the reason why sets are big like this, and should sets be big like this, have so many Pokemon cards inside them, and why is that? It's basically a couple of reasons, but one of the things is that Pokemon and trading card games in general, it used to be with Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon has been doing this more and more recently. They have a lot of the times they have the philosophy of quantity over quality. They release a lot of different TCG products. You look at all the collection boxes, all of the sort of different blister packs, tins, other sets. We've got the Elite Trainer boxes, all this stuff, and a lot of those are not so bad. They're mostly specific types of products for a certain set. But you look at all the collection boxes, which feature a lot of original cards, new cards, and how horrible they are. I'm thinking of a lot of the X and Y, the Mega Evolution, Mega Form boxes like Aerodactyl and Mega Aerodactyl EX, and Molly, Mega Molly EX, and how terrible they were basically. And they just releasing them for the sake of releasing them. They don't really have any good effects. They don't bring a lot to the table. If you look at a lot of these Pokemon, the actual sets, you could say they have a lot of filler cards that are weak, and cards that aren't very good. And it's been something they've been doing more and more. They've released Shining Legends, another mini set, and we got Dragon Majesty, and now we have a couple of sets, the Thunderclap Spark set and Fairy Rise, which I got to review that. And it seems that if Lost Thunder is going to be 210 cards, they're probably going to combine those two mini sets with Lost Thunder. They're going to combine three sets basically, and that's why it's 210 cards. Damn. But it makes you think, okay, why are they releasing all these mini sets? And it's supposed to be 4 sets a year, and between all the mini sets and extra sets, and it's more than that, and all the other products and what have you, it really adds up as a lot of sets. You can look at the sort of set totals for eras. It used to be like it would be like 11 sets a year, and you could see in X and Y how it's actually a lot more than that. If you consider the sets like Double Crisis, Generations, reprints, we actually had like, if you think about it, Evolutions should have been like the reprint set, but it was actually an anniversary set. I guess that's the exception. If you go back and look at the third generation of sets, you're going to see that most sets like are around 100 cards, exactly 100 cards, maybe a little bit over that, like maybe 105, 110 cards. And a lot of sets actually have less than 100 cards. 97 for EXT Magma versus Team Aqua, 93 for Legend Maker, very, very small. These sorts of numbers. And a set like, where is it? Unseen Forces with 145, that was like the big exception, a very big set, because it had a lot of the unknowns and a lot of, it's the Johto sort of set for the EX era. They included a lot of stuff that wanted to represent a lot of Pokemon. But anyway, that's the thing. It's basically Pokemon representation. Is as the new generations get released and more Pokemon get introduced, there's a lot more Pokemon Nintendo needs to cover. Because let's be real, We play the game for the competitive aspect, a lot of us just for that, but we have our favorite Pokemon too. And a lot of people, for them, that's the thing. They just want to collect their favorite Pokemon, or they just want to play with new cards of their favorite Pokemon. So sometimes it becomes kind of frustrating. You're waiting for sets are coming out, and you don't see your favorite Pokemon get represented, or when it finally does, the card isn't very good. Of course, I feel that all the time, and I mean, my favorite Pokemon, Salamence, actually is a Pokemon that they really give it a lot of prints frequently, and most of them are pretty bad, damn it. You get what I'm saying. And even though a lot of Pokemon, you could say, well, there's a lot of Pokemon we don't really give a fuck about. Maybe you don't give a fuck about them, but maybe there's a person in the world that's his favorite Pokemon. So, you look at some Pokemon, like let's say Abomasnow, maybe not a lot of people give a fuck about that Pokemon, but throughout Diamond and Pearl that it got released, it got two prints there, which is, you could say okay, but maybe underwhelming compared to other Diamond and Pearl Pokemon too. And before I think it was like either Breakpoint or Fates Collide, where it got its actual third print, and then it got another print recently in the Sun and Moon era, Ultra Prism, and it got basically the same version with a different type for grass. It hasn't gotten a lot of prints. Now, of course, that's from the fourth generation. It's not exactly as old as second, third, or the first generation, but it's a decent example. And with more and more Pokemon getting released, the Pokemon Company can't represent all of them in a set. You can only represent so many Pokemon, and there's only so many Pokemon that are going to be, really good as well. That's a different topic. So I can see like I can sort of justify a little bit why they have to make the sets bigger in order to represent as many Pokemon, to give prints to as many Pokemon. Because before like in the third generation, let's say, we only had like 365 Pokemon, something like that. So you would see a lot of Pokemon get represented a lot of times, maybe a lot of I guess you could say basic Pokemon. I remember I reviewed the X-Dragon set, and I was actually surprised there were so many multiple types of Pokemon. Like you would see 3 Magnemites, 3 Corphishes, 3 Bagons and shit, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of different Pokemon like that. And you would see like multiple prints, like there would be multiple Pokemon in that generation. Like I did the Shiftry TCGO review months ago now, and Shiftry had like basically 7 different cards, I think, in that era. So because there weren't so many Pokemon, the Pokemon that were available back then were represented over and over again. They had more chances to get represented. Now it's the opposite. The Pokemon Company has to carefully select what they represent. And to be honest, they're not really doing the best job, in my opinion. Maybe that they're okay so far, but come the 8th generation, I really wonder what the hell they're going to do. Because what they do is like they like to represent the popular Pokemon more. Like you see more Blaziken cards, more, Salamence cards, I guess you could say. Like perhaps Zoroark, perhaps Lucario, the starters. A lot of these Pokemon get represented more. And then other forgotten Pokemon, maybe they don't get represented as much. And it's kind of tricky actually. I'd have to look like all of the Pokemon and see their prints to get basically a rough draft. I would imagine a lot of them don't get the same, screen time, you could say. And of course, that's really the reason. And there's just so many Pokemon now with the 7th generation that we have. It's close to 1,000, and we might hit 1,000 or closer to 1,000. They don't release a lot of Pokemon now with the new generations. They're kind of conservative, and that's actually a good thing if you ask me. But that's a topic for a different day. I kind of justify it a little bit, but at the same time, we have a lot of products. It's sets are really big. Like a set like Lost Thunder, like the dude said that made the post, or one of the dudes that talked about the post on TCG. I mean, he said this is going to be a nightmare for collectors, and yeah, it's going to be a time where you are basically going to need to get like a couple of boxes just to get covered for the commons. Like normally when you buy one booster box, you're not going to get everything, but give or take, you're going to get like 99% of all the commons a couple of times, or at least maybe you get one specific like common like at least one time. Roughly, you should be covered with them. It's the rest of the stuff that you got to worry about. The lower rarity cards like the commons, the uncommons, you should have 99% of them, if not all of them. Back in the day of, even the DP sets, because of my experience, I got only one box from certain sets like Majestic Dawn and stuff, and Great Encounters, and I basically get most of the cards. Like, you have most of the cards, all of the commons. The only thing you're really missing is, all of the different types of reverses and the holo cards. Basically, you're not going to get all of them. So people back then really only needed to get one box, and really you were going to roughly get everything, and then maybe you just pick up the singles. So what's really the solution? Well, basically the solution isn't really a pretty one. I think they're still going to have these big ass sets, and they're probably going to get bigger no matter what they do. However they try to represent Pokemon. As more Pokemon get introduced, a lot of them are going to be left out. And I think maybe that's why they did the whole regional thing now with Sun and Moon, where we had Ultra Prism, Forbidden Light, Celestial Storm so far be regional sets. Lost Thunder is going to be another regional set for Johto, focusing on regions. Now this could get old if they keep doing it all the time. It's actually not that long ago we had the Aura sets for the third generation when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire got released. They did the correspondence sets, Primal Clash, Roaring Skies, Agent Origins, whatever. They can't really, slow down. These sets are going to have to be big like this. And the best thing they can do is really just try to represent Pokemon evenly. Like, they're going to represent a certain Pokemon, make it count. Make it a great Pokemon at least. And, they have to really just do things evenly. If they just keep representing a lot of the popular Pokemon, that just means it's a lost spot for a Pokemon that maybe isn't so popular, that doesn't get represented a lot, or hasn't gotten represented for a while. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Pokemon that if I look on Bulbapedia or Cerebi, I'm gonna see that they don't have a lot of prints. Of course, the newer the Pokemon are, you're gonna have to wait a while for this to come out. But I mean, they still reprint and give us Pokemon for a lot of the earlier Pokemon, like from the third generation downwards. Like, you still get your popular Pokemon, like so many Pikachu cards, so many Raichu cards. You got a lot of the evolutions. They give evolutions all the time. I mean, I get it, they're popular, but they're overdoing it, and they like to represent certain evolutions more too, I think. Maybe it's just me. And maybe Pokemon like Gardevoir, Rayquaza. Rayquaza gets so many prints, it's crazy. It's a legendary Pokemon that gets so many damn prints. I mean, I like it. It's one of my favorites. So of course, but a lot of other legendary Pokemon, they don't get represented as much, I'd say. I mean, it doesn't really come to mind any specific Pokemon. Perhaps maybe they're doing a good job with that, but I'm pretty sure if you like make a little bit of research, you're gonna find that some Pokemon are basically paying the price because they really have no choice. If they're gonna have 180 cards in a set, which is already big as fuck, a lot of those have to be trainers and reprints and new cards, new trainers and stuff. Then let's say you have 170 or 160 cards for new Pokemon cards. How many Pokemon are you going to represent? You can't represent all of them. And, between the 12 sets, around give or take 12 sets that get released per year, it's actually more than that. If you do the maths, we're going to come to a point where they really have no choice but to increase the card count in sets. Otherwise, they can't represent all Pokemon or a lot of the Pokemon. And it really makes it hard because then it's basically us have to buy more product to complete the sets. Buy more singles, buy more booster boxes, that sort of thing. So there really isn't an easy solution. It's just something that's going to keep going, but it's going to keep happening, I should say. This is basically, I guess, the title of the video. This is the reason why Pokemon sets are so big. My theory, at least. Why they're so big. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys subscribe. Leave a like. Share this with your friends. Cerebro94. What's up?